Cheers everybody, welcome. My name is Tiffany, I'm the Tipsy artist, and today we are going live to paint this beautiful little snowman. He's so cute. He's got little ornaments and you can even customize these to go with your little family tree. So it's kind of like a little mix of really cute little snowman with a family tree. So it's super fun. We have a model back here that you can keep your eye on the entire time, and then also I'll be working on this. And we do have a painting kit that goes with all this, with all the supplies that you need. So let's talk about that just real quick. We've got the paint set, and then we've got the set of brushes. Hello everybody, I love all the hearts. Welcome, welcome. Thank you. Then you'll have some napkins, an apron. You'll have little plates for mixing plates. You'll have the canvas. Your canvas has some depth to it though. It's a thick canvas with a wooden frame. And then I've also got some water nearby. And let's see, so I've got a lot of stuff nearby all ready to go. Also, it comes with a traceable kit. So this is your traceable. And I did a little mix. You don't have to put words with it if you don't want to. Words are totally optional. Good morning. Hello, Rhonda. Let's see. Hello, Shelly. Yay. Welcome. Lots of people on. If I can't see everybody's comment, I apologize. Sometimes I can't see everybody's comment, but I always go back and look at it afterwards and answer everybody. So excited to be with y'all this morning. All right. So with our traceable, we've got the traceable paper, and then we've got lots of different options inside for lettering. There's lots of different phrases you can choose from. So if you want a Merry Christmas or Joy to the World or Happy Holidays, whatever you want, you can cut that out, tape that, secure that. It kind of extends your image a little bit. Or you can just do no words and just do like lots of little snow in the sky like what I have up here too. So again, totally optional. Then your traceable paper, here's a little, I've got instructions. In fact, I even have another video on how to do this, but just in case. This, you always want to make sure that the gray dull side faces up. This is such a great little cheat. And then shiny side faces the canvas. And then you just place this over the top, and then you're good to go. And then I have, oh, I almost forgot, in the kit, well, where is it? Oh, I have so much stuff on my desk. Okay, so I have washi tape, and it's kind of fun. It comes in all different colors, and that doesn't really matter, but it is kind of fun. So this comes with it, and then this helps secure your traceable to the transfer paper to the canvas. And another fun little tip, really helps. So this is kind of like a painter's tape. So it's kind of sticky, but makes it really easy to lift off when you're done. So what I do encourage you to do is on your canvas, always make sure that this touches the wooden part on the back and that it has extra stickiness to that for whatever reason. It doesn't stick that well to the canvas, but it does stick really well to the wood on the back. So just, wrap that around. There's plenty on a roll, so you can just really use a lot of it to make it very secure. And then the other thing I'll tell you is that I think it's easier to just trace on a flat surface. So go ahead and, especially if you have an easel at home, you can just lay it flat. And so that works really well. Need to know what stuff to buy. I love to do this. Yay. I'll come back and answer that after the class. I'll just send you a link. So we have everything on one spot. So, and then if you still have further questions, just be sure and ask me. I love helping out, being your little, shopping concierge, help you out with that. Okay, so I have worked a little bit ahead this morning before I actually got started, so you wouldn't have to just sit here and watch me trace. It's more fun to watch me paint than it is to watch me trace. So I went ahead and did that ahead of time. The kit also comes with a permanent marker and a colored pencil, and I can't find my colored pencil anywhere. Well, y'all know what a color. Oh, well, here's one. So this is a colored pencil. And so basically what I do is I just trace all around with a colored pencil. The reason why is so that way you can easily see where you've been. Because if you just use like a black pen or a pencil, sometimes it's really hard to see which lines you've made. So the colored pencil, I think, really helps a lot. I'm going to bring that a little bit closer so you can definitely see what I'm talking about. Definitely helps you see that. And then what happens is, I'm going to go ahead and just flip this. It creates the traceable. So you can leave it just like this if you want, with just more of like a look of, looks like pencil. So it's kind of a soft look. Certainly optional just to leave it at that stage. Or you can help reinforce it a little bit with your Sharpie. And so I'm gonna go ahead and do that because I know beginners definitely prefer that. It definitely helps keep everything intact. It will actually also bleed through the paint. So you need to know that in advance. Paint will not cover over it. But most beginners actually really love that it doesn't cover it and it bleeds through. So how that definitely helps, for example, like on your background, you can be a lot more carefree when you do your background. And you don't have to worry about cutting in all around this lettering because it will bleed through. And then at the end, then you can just touch it up with paint, or you can even just continue to do what I call a nice little cheat again and just use your permanent marker right over the top again whenever you're done. So people just don't notice. And I would say if you're kind of on the fence about what to do, you might want to try it with the permanent marker first, especially if you're a little bit hesitant about your penmanship with the paint. And until you maybe get some good practice time in, you know, then you can do a little bit more with paint and a smaller brush. Or here's kind of a happy medium too. You could do it with Sharpie, and then you could even go over it with paint then too. That way you kind of give yourself as much help as you can to help get you going. And kind of take it in baby steps. So like especially with all these little branches, this is really going to help out later. And when I do my little painting in and around this here in a little bit, you'll see I'm not going to be too concerned about cutting in and around all these little branches, because what I know is that the permanent marker will bleed through, and that's awesome. And that's actually what we want for this process. We want it to bleed through. So we basically just want to be able to keep our trace intact. Now I'll tell you something else too. For the sake of time, I don't ever do this, but a lot of people do it when they come to my classes. You can actually just sweep through, paint your entire background the light blue, and then you can come back in with your traceable over the top. Just make sure it's completely dry. Good morning, good morning. So again, if you just make sure you're all, like if you just want to do all your background color first, let it completely dry, then come back in with your traceable, and you can do it, you can do basically all this that you see here. It'll show up right over the top of that background. The only time that doesn't work is if your background is black, and then that won't work. But I don't do a lot of black backgrounds. Used to, but anymore, especially when I use this line art and the traceable, I kind of try to stay with the lighter shades. And plus, the lighter backgrounds I think are trending a bit more now. We like to keep it light and bright. You know, so we have a lot of like shiplap or just light creams, grays. I like to keep it light. Too much darkness in the world. Make it stop. We have to bring in the lightness wherever we can. Yeah, and then the main thing I want to tell you to concentrate on during this, or rather not concentrate on, is just trying to relax. Just be very relaxed. Don't think about anything. Just focus on what you're doing. And that's the thing I hear the most about painting, is that people actually just get so lost in the process that they forget about whatever might be causing them some concern. And so in that regard, it can be very healing, because it just provides that wonderful escape where you just don't really think about a whole lot. You just think about this, what you're doing in the moment, and that's a really good thing. So give yourself a little pep talk. Say, I feel good, I feel great, I feel wonderful. How many of y'all have seen What About Bob? You know what I'm talking about. I feel good, I feel great, I feel wonderful. If you haven't seen that, I recommend it. It's been out a while. It's an oldie but a goodie. Bill Murray. Classic. Alright, so we're going to continue just to line all this out. This is definitely a time when you can just lose yourself in just the tracing. I'm sitting here as I'm doing this, I'm kind of like getting thoughtful about how we've been watching. I started thinking about movies, and then I started thinking about the movie we watched last night. And I don't know if y'all have, actually it's not a movie, it's a series. We watched The Queen's Gambit, I think is how it's said. It's on Netflix, and it's so good. She's a world champion chess player, and it's an amazing series. So if you have not seen it, I highly recommend it. It's very good. And we watched it until the very end last night. So it has such a good ending, and it's so good. As a matter of fact, I was having coffee this morning early with my husband, and he was all teary-eyed in his chair, and he was like, I can't stop thinking about that show. And he was like, I love how it ended, and I just loved it. He was all like crying, like he's gonna get mad at me for telling. And then he made me cry, and then I was like, oh my gosh, we're the biggest bunch of big ball babies. Yeah, truth's out. Big ball babies. But yeah, it's a great series. Very, just I think empowering and giving you lots of hope, even if you've gone through some tough stuff in your life, which is almost everybody. Seems like anymore, but yes. So it'll tell you that even if you've been through a lot, especially as a child with childhood trauma, it'll show you the light on how to pull through, I think. It's good stuff. That's my TV series review for today. Yeah, I was like, we're almost done with this. What else have I watched lately? Cobra Kai, that's another one. Man, really good. Quite a cliffhanger before they bring you back for the next series. But for those of you who don't know what that's related to, it's based from the Karate Kid. And it's kind of goofy in a way, but somehow you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how goofy this is, and yet I'm super hooked, and it's super good in a weird way too. So yeah, another one to check out. Okay, so enough of TV series review. Now we're going to talk about painting, because I got all my trace done. There just wasn't much more to say about that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put the lid back on this. Make sure you do that. Preserve your permanent marker there. And then let's see. So we have our paint nearby, and it's all ready to go. I went ahead and did a bunch of white for myself earlier on my paint plates. And then we're going to mix up some beautiful turquoise for our sky here. Let's see. Put that down there. So what I need to begin with here is I will be using some titanium white. Just to get that a little bit closer. Titanium white paint. And then some Viridian, I think is really pretty. And then also some primary cyan blue. All right, so the first thing I want to do, and I worked, oh man, I just scooped my thingy. All right, I think y'all are still in the shot. Okay, So the first thing I want to do is I'm just going to grab a whole big dollop of the white. We're going to need a lot of this. Actually, I don't know why I'm scooping it off that other plate. That was silly. I'm such a goofball. Hold on. Oh my gosh. Now I'm going to scoop it back and get it on the other plate. Okay. So I'm going to use the plate that I put this out on the beginning. I swear, I'm not even really drinking yet. Actually, yeah, I have it's a prop. I have what is this? Bubbly water. It's sparkling water. It's kind of lost its sparkle. It's been sitting here for a while. But yeah, I just wanted the fun prop, but it's a little early when I'm filming. Okay, so I have my white to begin with, and then let's do some primary cyan blue now. All right, let's do not that much, just to get us going. And then I'll just kind of pull into it here in a minute and kind of see how much I want. And then again, we've got our Viridian. I'll give you a visual. I got a little issue, there we go. Okay, so dollops to begin with, I have about a nickel-size heaping dollop of both colors, and then I had a bunch of white on my plate from earlier. So what I'm going to do now is first thing I'm going to show you is the Viridian with the white. And you can see how that's such a pretty color, but it's almost minty. So not quite turquoise, but a really nice shade of that first. So I've got that going. Now I'm going to just drag in a little bit of the blue. Now that's pretty dark. So, and I've also lost the turquoise hues that I was wanting. So I'm going to grab a little bit more Viridian, pull that back to the turquoise, and now I'm going to pull in more white because I really want to lighten this up a lot. There, a lot more white. That's pretty. Okay, because I want to keep my sky light and bright. And I don't mind having some of these darker hues nearby to go ahead and pull in. But yeah, we'll get that. Okay. So to go ahead and start placing this all around the background, I'm going to go ahead and start to sweep it across. And by the way, I'm using my Mama brush. This is a 1/2 inch flat tack-on brush. And this actually, if you buy the kit, it just comes with the kit. And so I just sweep it on back and forth. The other thing I like to do is I just go ahead and sweep it on back here. Is I'll also grab a little bit of the pure white and I'll push that in through the background. It just kind of looks like a little bit of cloud cover coming into the sky. And then yes, I am sweeping that across my lettering, and I'm going to keep that coat a little bit thin through there. It will bleed through. That permanent marker will definitely bleed through the paint as long as it's not too heavy-handed. But remember, you can always do your background first, or if you happen to lose something completely, you can always just let it set up and dry completely and then come back in with the traceable afterwards. Let's see here. Let's get this. I accidentally tapped my camera earlier. There. And you sweeping that across. Now I'm going to go through a lot of this because I don't want to have to worry too much about the details. In terms of cut in, I want to try to keep the process as relaxing as possible. That's really key with this. That's the main priority with this, is relaxation. So I'm just going to sweep through, and you can already see how it's starting to bleed through a little bit. And I keep my coat of paint on here. Just I don't come in with a heavy hand. I just kind of sweep through. I could actually sweep through the whole hat. Actually, I'm going to just do that. It's just so much easier. The only part I think I'm going to avoid is the actual snowman. Keep him white. But since relaxation is the goal, We're just going to sweep through as much of this as possible. And for the sake of time, that's why I do all my trace in the beginning. But if you're just watching this and knowing that you'll do this later, little helpful hint, probably a good thing just to do all your background first and then do your traceable afterwards. That's even easier than what I'm doing. But in order for me to do that on camera, it's hard to do that live just because of the timing, because then we'd have to sit there and wait for the paint to dry. That's never, I guess I could do more TV reviews for you. We talk about TV and what's fun to watch on Netflix or something. There's always a hairdryer too, I guess, but not just real pleasant to listen to going live, so. All right, so let's continue talking about the strokes here. So again, just nice, fluid, horizontal strokes. And we have our wonderful permanent marker line work done, so it will bleed through the paint. Sometimes I like to add a little bit of like a different shade there. Like there's something kind of brewing in the sky, so I'll sweep that in. Wanted a little bit of variety happening back there. Yeah, that's nice. Okay. Then as I cut in around the snowman, then I kind of change how I hold the brush. So I do a little thin line that goes all the way around here. And then just pull that out to the side. And even if you have a little overlap, like I just kind of just barely went into the snowman, not a big deal. We're gonna come in with some gray and some white. And so that's gonna easily cover up over that. So not a lot of pressure for perfection at all in this process. Really easy going. And then let's do a line around here. And then just pull this out to the side. Now getting better coverage over to the side too in the larger areas of the background, you will have to shift how you hold the brush a little bit and just kind of turn it more over to the side parallel to the canvas. So again, our objective in these classes is we're definitely very intentional about making sure that we create work that can be done by beginners. So this is for beginners, definitely. And of course, if you're a more skilled artisan, you can certainly intensify this process. But this is definitely for beginners, and the objective is definitely to just become very relaxed and have a very tranquil, peaceful process. All right, so we have all of our background done. So now what I want to go ahead and work on is the snow part here. So I'm going to go ahead and take my mama brush. Let's wash off the brush. Let's talk about that just a little bit. Some people have never even washed a brush before. So I'm going to go ahead and swirl it round and round and round in the water. Apply some firm pressure. That helps release the paint. And then, see, there's still a lot on the edge, so I do a little scrape. And then just have to keep coming back in. Sometimes it even requires your paper towel or your rag too to help remove the excess from the barrel of the brush. So in that case, it certainly did. And then before I start again, I'm actually just going to make sure my brush is now clean, but it's just moist in terms of, I don't have any like excess water in the brush. If you do want to, I always say this now, since a lot of you are painting with me at home, and this is a manageable canvas to put on a flat surface, if you do want to play with a little bit of water in your paint to help make it a little bit more fluid, certainly wonderful technique to do. The only thing I advise there is just make sure that your canvas is completely flat. So you do want to turn it flat, and of course take it off of an easel and just place it flat on your kitchen table or whatever surface area you're using there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go back in with some white. And again, in the kit, that is the titanium white. And then I'm going to load up a little bit more on my plate back here. Make sure I've got plenty. Okay. And then a little bit of some Mars Black. So we just need a little bit of that nearby. So not very much black. All right, so here's what we've got so far. A little bit of black goes a very long way. So I just barely touch into the black. And as you push that in, you can see how it takes it to a pretty dark gray pretty quickly. So you actually want to be careful. You never want to just start mixing with the whole amount, or else you'll get this really dark charcoal gray that's just actually almost black, and it's really hard to recover from. So you do have to be careful with that too. So again, just be real cautious with the black. Just barely use it, very little bit at the beginning. And then I've still got all my pure white to work into. So I'm going to go ahead and start to place this into the snow down here. Using the pencil line edge, like if you hold it like a pencil, then use that straight edge to go ahead and work that through. I'm going to get a little darker near the edge, so I'm grabbing a little bit more, oops, that was a lot, a little bit more black right at the edge. And then I'll feather out from there with more white. Okay, so I'm going to take this same brush. It's a little heavy with that dark charcoal, so you can just wipe it on a rag or your paper towels. Now I'm going to go right into just some pure white, and while the paint's still wet, kind of softly overlap into that darker charcoal gray. And then that way you'll get a nice soft blend in between the darker charcoal gray, and that will softly transition out into a lighter gray. It just goes all the way down into the little hill that he's resting on. And then you can add a few more little white highlights all the way across. In order to make that white highlight really stand out in front, you need to lighten the touch of your hand. So now you shift how you hold the brush more over to the side, and then that allows more of that paint to just kind of lightly rest on the surface. I pulled back in a little bit more charcoal up at the top because I was seeing just kind of an unblended transition there that I'm not really liking. So I'm going to come back in with a little bit more of a darker line, and then we're going to softly transition that again, and then overlap, more firm pressure with the white overlapping over that gray, because we're going to get that transition in there. So a little bit of an overlap with white into that wet paint. What happens is sometimes that paint just sets up and dries so quickly, and then when you try to come back in and transition, you're not getting wet to wet paint. So sometimes you just have to go back over it, re-wet the paint, and then overlap a little bit and then softly transition it. All right, now we're gonna do our cute little snowman here. So I've got, pulling into a little bit of that darker charcoal for the outline. Same thing here. And I definitely don't want my whole, oops, got a little bit of that white. I don't want my whole snowman to be dark charcoal. I just want the outline to be a little bit more dark. And I need to switch to a smaller brush now. So now I'm going to start transitioning to my little buddy here. This is a 1/4" flat Taklon. So there we go. So a little outline. Love it. And then let's go ahead and get, by the way, when I'm not using my brushes during one session, I do go ahead and place them into the water until I get a chance to rinse them out completely and dry them off. So to me, the most urgent need is to put them in water initially, because acrylic paint sets up and dries so quickly you don't want the paint to dry on the brush if you don't have a chance to get to it really quickly. However, you also don't want to leave them in the water, because then they can dry, not dry, but they can become deformed. I have an example down here somewhere of what they look like. I thought I did. Oh, here's a great example. This is bad. This is what you're not supposed to do. See how, oh, that's a brush I left in the water with too much pressure, and so it's still usable for like pouncing technique and things like that, you know, but it's a little challenging to use for any type of a precise move in painting, so you have to be careful. You have to get to those brushes quickly and rinse them off, dry them off. All right, so I'm gonna come in with my little buddy now. This is I got some excess water, so I'm gonna dry that off. So this is a 1/4" flat Taklon brush. I'm just loading it up with some more white paint now, and then working just through the center of our little snowman. And we'll just work that through, just giving a nice painterly look. You can also not necessarily use pure white. You can add, if you keep it super, super light, you can make sure you have a little bit of this super light heather gray in the mix as well. So that it's not necessarily just a pure white. So I'll feather this out with more white here. And as I paint through the sides of the snowman, I try to follow the same or echo the same shape of the snowman. So like big parentheses as I come in around the sides. So I try to kind of take it in a circular motion. And then the face. So the face you want to be quite a bit more delicate with. And I like to keep the face just pure white, honestly, because it gets to be a little bit tricky, especially for beginners, to try to finesse the nuance of the lighter grays sometimes. And so the face can get really dark, and it can be kind of a struggle to overcorrect at the end. So I'd say better safe than sorry. Keep your paint pretty light. And it's just a little bit easier to deal with. And that paint will bleed through, so I can come back and work on the details here in a little bit. So I'm just going to do a nice little whitewash right over the whole surface. Again, just trying to keep it as easy as possible. Alright, and then I'm going to work on color next. I'm going to leave black till the very end, since black will be all the details and the outlines around everything. So a little scarf. Let's start with a little scarf here. I want a clean plate. So get a clean plate. And I'm going to be using some cadmium red. And I'll show you the amounts here. Just a second. And then also primary magenta. I want about equal parts on this, roughly. Not too precise, but not a big deal. But I basically want to cool off. The cadmium red's really warm, and so I want to cool it off a little bit. So I'm adding the primary magenta to cool it off, make it a cooler red. So I'm going to mix those two together. And you can see I had a little bit more of the cadmium red. That's okay. All right, so this is a really nice, pretty red. And pressure into the brush, just go ahead and this keeps it loaded, but it presses it out to a nice thin line edge. So that's helpful in terms of your application. You don't want a really thick brush. It's hard to control. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this to go into the scarf. So I'll do the vertical strokes first and then kind of sweep across in a horizontal stroke to fill in. And also it kind of feathers out those little brush strokes. All right, and let's feather those out. Now we're going into the top. All right, a little feathering out of the brush strokes there, and that's looking good. We'll release all the excess. Go ahead and place this one into the water. And then we're going to go ahead and switch to smaller brushes and start to do more detail on our little ornaments here. So you can kind of, this is totally up to you at this point. You can be creative and do all your own colors. You can add bright colors if you want. So we've got all kinds of bright colors in here, and we'll do some of these. Like there's some cadmium yellow and some violet. There's some really pretty things you can do. So I'm going to start with some red to begin with. So I've got my red that we just mixed up. Now I'm using my little buddy brush, 1/4 inch flat. And I'm going to go ahead and work in this little heart here. So initially, to get the shapes, you do have to just hold the brush more like a pencil. What you'll notice is that sometimes this digs into the paint when you hold the brush this way. So I do have to come back in, change how I hold the brush, and just kind of lightly feather it out. Really nice. Okay, let's do another little heart over here. And let's feather it out. Really cute. All right, let's see. I want to do anything else here. Let's give the red a little bit of a rest and go in with some brighter, bolder colors here. All right, so next up we'll be using some cadmium yellow. And then we can lighten it up a little bit with some primary yellow. That's an option. All right, so we're gonna mix those two together. This keeps it super light and bright. Also helps it cover better on the canvas. So I'm going to go ahead and sweep this through. And then feather that out. And let's do this one too. Because at first we have to be precise about the line work, but then it does create little brush strokes. We have to come back in and kind of feather it out, get a more opaque finish over the top. So again, it's just turning that handle of the brush over to the side. Watch the handle, so if it's coming toward you like this, that's usually digging into the paint and scraping it off. But if it's over to the side, then it allows more paint to actually rest on the surface area. And let's do this cute little ball here. And fill it in. Really cute. And now we'll do some green, Christmas green. And I want to make sure I do violet too. So let's show you some violet as well. All right, let's start with the green. So just a classic cadmium green. And I'm going to mix a little bit of a lighter bright yellow green with it, just to help it cover better on the canvas. And I'm coming back in with a clean little buddy. And we're going to mix that bright yellow green with our cadmium green. So it makes it very light and bright, and again, better coverage. The other reason why it helps to lighten it up a little bit, better contrast over that blue sky. So we're going to go ahead and do this green here. And then feather that out. This one will be green. And then feather it out, turn that handle over to the side. All right, beautiful. Actually, don't want anything else green. I want this little part of the hat to be green too. All right, nice. Okay, put that into the water, clean it off a little bit. Now let's do some beautiful violet. So this is what our violet looks like. Oh, little foil on top, that's how it comes. So I have to make sure and take that off. I should have said something about that in the beginning. Well, you'll eventually figure it out. But yeah, you'll be wondering, why is my paint not coming out? All right, so I'm gonna do a little dollop of the violet. And then I'm going to add a little touch of white to this because it's a little dark in the beginning, I think. And so I add a little bit of white to it. And see, that makes it really bright and pretty. That's a much better shade, I think, for what I'm wanting. And you can take it all the way to a lavender, but yeah, that's pretty. So light and bright there. And then I'm going to go ahead and do this little Christmas ball right up here. And so I basically just hold the brush more like a pencil for this move, spread the bristles out side to side in like a little half circle twist, and then that makes your little circle. And let's feather this out. Nice. Okay, so now what you can start to do too, you can start to add accent colors over the top with some of the different colors that you've mixed up. So I have all of these still available for that. And then I'll take my little bit brush and I'll twist into this like violet color that we mixed up, for example. And then like this is really pretty to do, like a little stripe over the top. And if you do family names on your ornaments, I do highly recommend absolutely using the permanent marker for that. It's just way, way, way too small, and most beginners can't handle a super tiny touch, and it's just so much easier. I would say just go with whatever is easiest for you. All right, now we're going to do some of the red. So a little twist here into the red. And you can also just keep it without any lettering too. I think up there I did add some lettering, but you can just keep it purely decorative as well. Or you can also make it to where it just says things like joy, love, peace. That's also really fun. Let's see here. Let's do a little line work there. I also make sure that when I wash the brush out, make sure you do squeegee out all the excess water. It just helps avoid any water runs. Really helpful. Come back into this cadmium. Let's do a little line over the top of the purple. Now that's getting a little muddy, so I do need to clean that out a little bit. Make sure I've got nice, fresh cadmium that comes over the top. So it's coming along. It's looking good. Let's do some stripes on the scarf. All right, so I've got my little bit brush again, just white paint, and I'll do a few little vertical stripes here. And I'm going to do a polka dot pattern here in just a little bit. You know what would be super cute on this scarf? I just now thought of it. If you had planned ahead, if I had planned ahead, you can, but to do some buffalo check on this scarf would be super precious. So yeah, that'd be fun. You just use a ruler and just do your vertical lines. Just make sure you get the same distance between each line. And do your vertical lines and then your horizontal lines. You could do that. So I have a lot of other classes with buffalo check, and I teach how to paint it. All right, now for pattern with polka dots. So I'm going to use my smallest brush here, use the handle, use the wooden handle part, and I'm going to dip into the paint. See how it's on there? And then I just go ahead and press firmly down on the canvas. And you can certainly add a lot more polka dots than this. If it doesn't quite work out the first time, you can always just hit it one more time. Reinforce the dot shape. But this is such a fun little trick, and you can also use a bigger brush handle and make bigger polka dots too. So it's really fun. So we're going to do a lot more with this technique. So we'll do like snow in the background and the eyes. It's really very handy. All right, so let's see. I'm trying to get all the color work done. Let's come in with a little bit of some white on the ornaments now. So here's a little bit again, a little bit of white paint. We'll add a little bit more detail here. So this is just like making tiny little dashes. And you can either add more of like some polka dot pattern, or you can write words too. So an example, I'm going to show you one. I'm going to go ahead and paint it. You cannot use permanent marker on wet paint, so make sure and know that. If you do the permanent marker with the lettering, make sure that you do it at the very end when it's completely dry. But to give you an idea of what it could look like, I'm going to do a little twist here into the red. Get a nice fine point, and then I'll write Mom. See, that's even too thick there. It's really hard to get super tiny. And see, that was just 3 letters and I ran out of room. So sometimes you might even, I don't know, I think to get super tiny, well, this is even a pretty thick tip for the permanent marker, so you might even have to do a super extra fine point too to help out with that. All right, so now let's do some little polka dots, more polka dots here. I'm gonna come in with some white. And do polka dots through here. This is also another fun way just to keep it completely decorative. You don't have to worry about lettering. Okay, cute. All right, let's see what else we've got. I know we have a lot of black to do. Let's try to make sure we got all of our color done. Oh, the orange nose. Okay, so we have now a couple of options on this. You can do cadmium yellow with your nose. You just want to keep it in that same color family. Or we've got some cadmium orange too. So I'm going to add a little bit of some cadmium orange here. Just a little tiny dollop is all that's needed. This is a really small amount. By the way, orange is also something that you certainly could have used for ornament colors. So I'm going to go ahead and paint into this little carrot nose. Yay, there's our little carrot nose. Wonderful. Okay, now I'm going to come back into the black. Gotta get more of that happening. We've got Mars black, a little visual here. Mars black. And let's go back to our little bit brush. Also, really crucial, make sure you squeegee out any extra water, especially if you're using this in a vertical state. If it's flat, you don't really have to worry about it. But we want to avoid water runs. So we're going to do a little twist here into the paint, get a really nice fine point, and then this is going to help us do our little smiley face. And you can also do this with the permanent marker. Just again, make sure all of your paint is set up and dry. Now we can also do the eyes here, but I'm going to use the handle. See, there it is on the end of the wooden handle, and then just press straight forward. And there's our little eyes. Nice. Okay. Now we have more outlining work to do. So I'm going to go ahead and go a light touch around our little snowman here. And our hat. And again, this is my little bit brush, and it's just a little Teflon. That's the material that's used, and just a little liner. So they come in all different shapes and sizes, but this is the size that you get when you order our little kit. I'll just continue painting this into that little shape. Just be really patient and say, go, me, go. Give yourself some encouragement. It's really important. That is quite lovely. And now I'm going to do a little bit of this line work around the edge of the snowman. Helps him kind of pop out to the front. Same thing here with the scarf. Now I got to be careful my planning. I don't want to get too close to that grin, so I'm going to kind of come in underneath that line. Because if I come in over the top, I would have run into a smile. So be careful of stuff like that too as you're planning. I think about that a little bit. It's real close in there. Cuts it real close. And then we're going to continue this little outline all the way down. Now, our paint is usually pretty thick too. The black, it can be challenging to do these tight little fine lines. So you can add a little bit of water into the mix of it. And then I would encourage you to work on a flat surface so you don't get any water runs when you're doing a lot of this really precise line work with the black. And I'm going to be really careful when I outline the nose because I just barely want that little black line. Yeah, just real soft and subtle on that. And then I'm going to come in with my little branches and I can just kind of follow along. It's still just bleeding through the paint, which is wonderful. That's what we were wanting. So I can still see it. So you can just follow it along. And it's always thicker at the base. So if you're freehanding this, thicker at the base, and then as you get out towards the very end of the limb, then you just lift off with a light hand. Because you definitely want that part to be a lot thinner and more delicate. So more pressure and then gradually just lift off pressure until you're just off the canvas. I've got a little ornament top. I need to remember to put that back in. Outline it. Don't want to forget our little ornament tops here. That's what'll connect it to the tree. And these are just little squares. I'm just going to go ahead and knock those out now so that I don't forget them later, because sometimes I can get a little bit busy with all the other details and then miss one. So I'm going to make sure I've got all those in place. And then we're going to be outlining these ornaments too, so. So sometimes the belly of the brush can get kind of thick and clumpy, so you have to kind of keep twisting it out. And then I'm going to go ahead and use this brush to outline. So it makes the outline, I think, really helps make the object really, again, pop out to the front, really helpful for that. Oops, almost forgot that one. And it's just part of the style too. It's just a fun, kind of a folk art, childlike look. Let's see, you got all the tops, all the outline. Oh, no, it missed an outline here. Now I'm going to fill in the branches. And then remember to use just a light hand. Just lift off on the pressure as I get farthest out to the end of the limb. I think I had designed this where you could have a really big family if you're wanting to do like almost like a family tree with the ornaments. And of course you can always add more ornaments. And the basic shape on the branches too, it's like little tiny V's. And just get as light as you can with the pressure, and then just completely lift off when you get out to the end of the limb. And always make sure that it's thicker towards the center of the branch, and then again as it comes out towards the end it gets thinner. And then also make sure that you definitely have a branch on top of your ornament so that they're not just floating. See how I made that connection there to where it's definitely hanging from it. Or you can do a little string too from it. See, like we have a little string coming from there to help connect it. Okay, so I think got all my little branches done. It's looking good. And I'm going to add just a tiny little accent of black. Just a light sketch. Light sketch here too to help make this pop out in front. Alright, and then I guess I had a few more little branches come up. You can see them sort of peeking through here. And now I've got some lettering to do. Okay, so do a quick little twist here. Now this is something I was mentioning earlier. This is all set up and dry, so you can certainly use your Sharpie on this. And I'm going to give you a quick little visual on that. Because you can do Sharpie or paint. So of course, if you want to do the permanent marker, see it just glides right over the top. and really undetectable as even being permanent marker, I think. So that's certainly one way to do it. Highly recommended for beginners, for sure. This makes life a lot easier on you. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my little bit brush, twist into the paint, get a nice fine point again. And you can also see how I just added a touch of paint over the top of the permanent marker. That's another option too. So if you are wanting it to really look more painterly but want the extra added help of doing the permanent marker in the beginning, just do it permanent marker in the beginning and then just touch it up with a little touch of paint. And nobody will ever know. So just following that along because I still have it as a guide. Now, little helpful hints here as you're doing your lettering. You can help stabilize your hand if you need to with your pinky, resting that on the canvas. That helps stabilize your hand so you can do that more precise move there. And then after this, we're going to be coming in with lots of snow. So that's going to be fun. Happy holidays! Yay! Okay. All right, so now we have some fun work to do with snow in the sky. So I'm going to be using a bigger brush handle now, and you can even, if you have a bigger brush handle, even more than what comes in the kit, you can use that too, like go way big like that. And then we have our mama brush. So I'm going to take this and put it into the paint, see how it's all loaded. And then I'm going to sprinkle these all around. So this is also great therapy. And just for fun, I'm going to show you with a little bit of a bigger circle. So if you want to find things around the house, you know, you can definitely kind of make it a bit more random. Push that in there. So this is just so easy because again, it just makes perfect little circles all the way through here. Oops. Yeah, if that happens, just hit it one more time. All right, now let's come in with a smaller brush. Using that smaller brush handle. And just continue kind of hitting it right on the top. Yay, so pretty. And actually, I'm going to show you a few that are just hand painted too. So we've got our little bit brush. Let's twirl it into the white. And then you can just kind of spin and make like little circles. Leave them almost like looking like little bubbles. It's just a kind of a cute, abstract way to do some snow. Soften it out, just keep spinning it out. So it's kind of like making little Cheerios in the sky. Cheerios, lots of little Cheerios. It's really fun. Fun little pattern. You could just go on and on and on. It could just snow for a long time. It's great therapy. All right. Now we need some little white highlights, just a little bit like a sketch of white on some of the different objects that are happening here in the snowman. So I'm gonna take my same little bit brush, twirl it into the white paint, get a nice fine point, and then I'm just going to do a nice little sketch, just light hand here. And then a little bit here around the outside. And then a little bit around the outside here too. A little bit of some white accent right over the top of the snow. A little bit here on top of the snowman. And then even on our little hearts here, I'm going to do just a tiny little accent. Almost like little flash points of light. And these are on the little ornaments. And then I just saw one I need to connect. I'm gonna go into a little bit of black because look at that. I got a little string I need to add there. That's why it's good to go back over this one more time. So I think all of our ornaments are now connected. Little white highlights everywhere. Lots of decorative accents. And I think we're done. So the very last thing you can do is you can sign your masterpiece, which if it's all dry, you can certainly use your permanent marker to do that. So let's see. I'll quickly do a little signature here. Tipsy artist. Yay. All right. Thank you so much. I love snowmen. I paint them. I think I'll paint this one. Yay. Awesome. And thank you so much for watching with us today. All right. So this is going to be left up online to paint whenever, forever. I'll also post it on YouTube so that you can refer it to friends. They don't have to be on Facebook. They can just load it up on YouTube whenever they want on our YouTube channel. And so we do have everything that you need. We also have a fun little traceable too. So all that good stuff, it can all be found on tipsyartist.com. But thank you so much for joining us today. I had so much fun, yay! And y'all have a beautiful rest of the day, and we'll see you soon. Mwah.